Hello, I am your teacher, Mr. Pacitti, and this is my classroom right here in Memphis, Tennessee. So put away your mobile phones, put away your custom Hasbros. It's time to concentrate. It's time to study. This is Smackdown Live, and this is Graded. Kicking things off with SmackDown Live General Manager Paige, and she is joined by all of the entrants in the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and it's time for squabbling. We all love a squabble, don't we? Each woman lists off her accomplishments, apart from Lana, who doesn't really have any, and then they're interrupted by the Iconics. The Iconics walked down the ramp and gave one of the most cringeworthy promos in recent years. It was really, really bad. They were doing impressions of the women in the ring, and it was just thinking about it now is making my skin crawl. It was just bad, and the legitimate boos from the crowd because it was so bad. It wasn't heat. Those weren't people that were pissed off. They were just like, what is going on? This is awful. Fortunately, they were quickly interrupted by Mandy, Rose and Sonya Deville, and a big old scrap breaks out. This is it was short. This is difficult to give a grade to. I'll give it a C. It would have been a B had it not been for that awful, awful Iconics promo. Next up, for the first time ever on SmackDown Live, Daniel Bryan versus Shelton Benjamin, and the crowd are super hot for Bryan here. This was an enjoyable match where Shelton spent the majority of the match targeting Daniel Bryan's knee, trying to prevent him from being able to lock in the heel hook. Sensible storytelling, as I say, a really enjoyable match. A nice sequence at the end where each man was going for submission hold after submission hold after submission hold, only for Daniel Bryan to finally lock in the heel hook. Shelton Benjamin taps, your winner, Daniel Bryan. This is a solid TV match. It gets a B from me. Obviously, Daniel Bryan is fantastic, but Shelton Benjamin is so often overlooked. I think the guy is tremendously talented. I wish they would do a little bit more with him. Daniel Bryan, of course, looking strong in the build-up to Money in the Bank on Sunday. The match did what it was meant to do. Hopefully, his feud with Big Cass finishes on Sunday. Hopefully that's the end of it, because it isn't very good. Backstage with SmackDown Live General Manager Paige, and she is confronted by Asuka, who wants Carmella tonight. She can't wait for Sunday. But no, that can't happen. There can't be two women's matches in one show. Don't be preposterous, Asuka. So Paige makes the 8-woman tag match a 10-woman tag match, 5-on-5 tonight. She's then confronted by The Miz, who is added as the special guest referee for Samoa Joe versus Rusev. Miz, as always, hilarious. Not much to grade here. I'm not going to give it a grade, but my word, I love you, Miz. Back to ringsides and lock up your wives, lock up your daughters. It's only bloody Jerry the King Lawler who introduces WWE champion AJ Styles, Outcome Styles. Lawler says that, hey, last week you slapped Shinsuke Nakamura like I slapped Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman for WWE Hall of Fame, by the way. This promo was nothing. Like, they hyped a little bit for Sunday, but after such an intense, brilliant contract signing last week, this felt so lackluster. I'm giving it a D because it was utterly pointless. Like, I guess it was a reason to get Jerry Lawler in front of the crowd and on TV. I don't know what that was. Next up, in his tight little referee shirt, out comes The Miz. It's time for Samoa Joe versus Rusev, and this was a fun match from two absolute hosses. Joe hit a fantastic dive to the outside, some good action on the outside. They get back in the ring, and Samoa Joe accidentally squashes Miz in the corner, leading to them having a bit of an argument back and forth. Rusev is able to capitalize on this, hits the matchka kick, and picks up the win. Rusev pins Samoa Joe. I've seen a lot of people online complaining about Rusev picking up the win, beating Samoa Joe. But Rusev has deserved a push for a long time. This made him look like a viable threat heading into Money in the Bank, but storyline-wise, he was only able to pick up the win probably because of the distraction caused by Samoa Joe and The Miz arguing. So I don't understand what people are upset about. This one gets a C from me. It would have been a B, but it was just a little bit short. After the match, Rusev goes to climb the ladder to prove that he can indeed climb a ladder. Like, really? Why? Anyway, he's pulled off, oi oi, by The Miz, who hits him with a skull-crushing finale. The Miz ascends the ladder, grabs the briefcase, poses with it. He then takes it down to the announce table and he says, you know what's inside this? This is a contract match for a title shot at any time of my choosing. He opens it. There's no contract in there. Instead, it's filled with pancakes. And cut to backstage. And the New Day are pissing themselves laughing. For some reason, Kofi and Xavier are sharing a t-shirt, like they have one arm out of each hole and they're in this t-shirt. It's so fun. It was really good. Comedy done right for once. I hope this Miz New Day feud never ends. It's so funny. When Miz was opening the briefcase, he's going, New Day! New Day! It was really, really funny. Next up, another first on SmackDown Live, Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and a fairly unremarkable match. This one gets a C from me. The story here was that Shinsuke was targeting Jeff's back, and then when Jeff finally hit the Swanton Bomb, he was unable to make a timely cover. Shinsuke got his foot on the rope. It was fine. It was a fine match. The ending came when Shinsuke hit the low blow and was disqualified, but he doesn't care. And we've seen his strategy now for Money in the Bank. One can only assume that Shinsuke will go for repeated low blows until AJ can't stand anymore. After the match, after the bell had rung, Shinsuke hit the Kinshasa and then counted Jeff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hyping the match at Money in the Bank, one that I'm still really, really excited for, but yeah, this match was just average. Backstage now, and Renee Young is interviewing SmackDown Women's Champion Carmella. Carmella reminds us that she beat Charlotte Flair twice, that she's ready for Asuka, that Mella is money, blah, 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 same thing week in, week out. Renee Young then goes to relocate and finds Big Cass, who cuts her off immediately and grabs the mic. Big Cass talks about how he'd just been paid $25,000 to open a new roller coaster at a local theme park, and he's brought back a souvenir. It's the height requirement chart that details how tall you have to be to ride the roller coaster. And Big Cass, bless him, wanted to take the entire SmackDown Live roster on a lovely day out to the park, but there's one person that isn't big enough for the roller coaster, and that man is, of course, Daniel Bryan. Just bad. Just a bad promo. Delivery was fine, but who's scripting this nonsense? My biggest objection to this is that literally nobody is going to pay Big Cass $25,000 to do anything, because he's useless. It's now time for your main event, and it's the biggest women's match ever on SmackDown, which is pretty bloody cool. It's the 10-woman tag team match, and I love this. I think it was fun, it was fast-paced, every woman got their spots in, like every woman had a chance to shine. At the end, it descended into absolute chaos. It's pandemonium, and then Asuka manages to lock in the Asuka lock on Carmella, and Carmella taps. Asuka picks up the win for Team Good Guy. This one gets a B from me because it was a great match, but it also effectively hyped both Carmella versus Asuka for the SmackDown Women's title and the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match at the same time, reminding us how bloody good the 4 women from SmackDown involved in that match are. After the match, they all got in the ring, and because imagery is so important, they all looked up at the briefcase just to check that it hadn't been stolen, and that's your lot. Show's over. After a few strong weeks, I actually think this was a pretty weak episode of SmackDown. I'm giving it a C-, and I have 2 questions. First of all, where was Andrade Cien Almas versus Sin Cara? I was lucky enough to see that match on a house show, and it surprised me at how brilliant it was. I was really excited for that. And secondly, where the hell is Sanity? Give me Sanity. Bye. Thanks for watching. That's it from me. You can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.